What's up, cannabis community? I'm Brent Green, and this is your cannabis news. All right, y'all. So, it's going nuts in here today. Today is 12/16/2020, and we're still in our first year of the pandemic and the second wave of the quarantine. So stay safe out there. All right, y'all. Well, look at here. We're doing something a little different today. We have a guest with us. Today we've got something a little bit different. You already know that part. And our news format. Today we're joined by Vigal, writer, editor, and producer of, of Just Say Yo, which is a documentary that celebrates Bongathon, a 4-decade stoner tradition in Colorado. Okay, here, I want to show y'all this logo here. Yeah, 40 years of Stonerdom in Colorado, y'all. Shout out to all the stoners out there, all our elders, man, who got busy out there well before, who laid the groundwork for all of us to do our thing out here. You know what I mean? Shout out to all of y'all. Anyways, so like I said, we're joined by Jared. Sorry about that, y'all. There we go. One sec, Jared. All right. So, Jared, I want to thank you for joining us today, man. Say what's up to everyone out there.
Hey, what's up, everyone? Thanks again, Brett, for having me on the Green Scene TV. I really appreciate it, man.
Oh man, anytime, dude. I watched this last year. I watched Just Say Yo last year, and I found it to be very inspiring, and as well as very informative in terms of telling us about the stoner experience. So I definitely want to know, how did you get involved with this project?
It started in 2013. Me and a few friends / colleagues of mine were sharing an office space together. So we all had individual offices, but we shared a common lobby. And one of my friends had his name's Patrick Young. He had put up a poster about Bongathon. And I was like, wow, what's that? Because it didn't really show any information. It just showed a date, and it had a character named Mr. Natural, who I wasn't familiar with at the time. He's a comic book character from what I understand. And he was holding a bong and stuff. So I knew it was about cannabis, but it didn't have any information. So my friend was just like, don't worry about it. I got you guys tickets. Just come. So fast forward to the end of July that year, a couple of my friends were performing. So me and my brother went up there and with a few of our friends, and they ended up performing and watching. We ended up getting there early. So at that time, I didn't know anything about Bongathon at the time. All I knew was what the poster looked like. So I seen all these people doing all these crazy weed competitions. Everyone was smoking. They had a school bus that was modified, that was painted and was gutted on the inside and had tables, and they had dab rigs hooked up in there. And they were actually giving out free dabs and stuff. No one was paying for anything. So needless to say, that caught my attention a lot. So fast forward to the next year, and I was doing video production for a news outlet site at the time, and we ended up sponsoring it. So we did like a lot leading up to it, and we covered it. I did video production, stuff like that. They do stuff called the fastest gram leading up to the event. So they would have a bunch of people sign up. It was free, and whoever smoked a gram of cannabis the fastest through a bong got tickets to the event. So that year we went again, and I happened to actually personally meet and stuff like that So fast forward to the end of that, I got a bunch of video footage, and I approached, at the time, the head of the committee, Chris Jeter. I approached him and said, "Hey, I would like to make a documentary about this. I think this is cool." And I showed him a minute trailer spot that I had cut together for it for the uh, past 2 years that I had recorded. And he basically told me, "Okay, that's cool. We've had people approach us to make a movie before, so we'll see what we can do." He ended up putting me in touch with Mark, and for the life of me, I cannot remember his last name off the top of my head. But he was doing like kind of home video style videos every year since 2010. So like for the last 4 years, at that time, he was doing like home video style of just random scenes, and he would kind of sell them at the events, but it wasn't really like pushed outside of the community other than just people who attended. So I got in touch with him. He ended up giving me a bunch of his footage that he had shot for the last 4 years. And I basically spent about 6 months of my life going through all his footage and taking bits and pieces of what he had that I liked and splicing it in with what I liked that I shot. Fast forward another 8 months, because it took me a while. I approached Jeter, the committee head at the time, and I sent him a rough cut of what I did. Like, "Hey, bro, I don't want you to think I'm playing, or I'm not, like, I'm just blowing smoke. Here's what I cut together." So at that point, he really got excited, because before that, like, no one really wanted to talk to me. He kind of gave me names and like people that I should talk to, but I'd say about 70% of those people I tried to contact, they just were like, "Who are you, bro? We don't know you. We've never met you. What do you like? We don't want to do an interview." So I got maybe 2, 3 people at that time to do an actual interview with me and tell me about their experiences with Bongathon. And I cut that into a documentary. It was basically the rough cut of what my final movie was going to be. So once I showed him that, he, like I said before, he got really excited. He took an active role as a producer, luckily, and he started personally hitting up these people saying, "Hey, you need to talk to this dude. Like, he's really making a movie. He's telling the history of it." Because before, like, it's a close knit community, so they weren't at that point. They weren't really talking to outsiders about it. It got raided previously. A lot of people had kind of gotten a little bit of trouble over it, so they weren't really fond of outsiders or people they didn't know or people that weren't co-signing on it. So yeah, so he took an active role as a producer. He got me a lot of footage from the 80s from people that had recorded, because this event had been going on since 1976, and got me a lot of pictures and stuff, because it was up until cannabis became medically legal in Colorado. I want to say in 2010. Don't quote me on that because it's been a few years, but up until that time, like, it was super illegal. Like, you were risking a lot of felony offenses just even showing people's faces and stuff.
Yeah, absolutely.
So yeah, so I took that footage, and it took me another 3 months to cut together what would have been the final movie. And then in the course of that happening, another year had passed. So I had attended Bongathon for another year and recorded more footage. So I intertwined that with everything. And that's kind of basically how I got involved, bro. It was just a random poster in our office lobby that a friend shared because he was doing marketing for them. And it just built from there.
Yeah, man, it sounds like a classic case of that stoner serendipity. You know what I mean?
Yeah, yeah, it really was. Because
actually,
like, my family's like partaked in cannabis for since as long as I could remember. I've been partaking in cannabis recreationally since I was a teenager. So I was always intrigued by it. But once I actually found out about it and like, this, like, you guys been doing this since 76? Like, where have I been? How come I haven't heard about it? How come, like, no one's ever said nothing? Which is a funny note because surprisingly, one of my aunts actually attended a few times in the 90s. So I did hear about it. I just didn't know the name of it, I guess you could say.
Wow, dude. Yeah, man. Yeah, like I said, man, I'm with you. Like when I first watched the documentary, I was like, man, you know, I've been making cannabis content for 10 years. I've been out here on the cannabis scene for my whole adult life, and I've never heard of Bongathon. And when I saw the documentary, which was very well put together, by the way, which is definitely give us some real lessons in how to make some cannabis content out here, no matter what the subject matter is. I want to give you props for that, man. But
thank you.
It's pretty safe to say, though, that you're after hearing your story, that you are a cannabis advocate, correct?
Yeah, I can't say like I'm like super hardcore, if that makes sense, because there are a lot of people, like, I wasn't involved in pushing for recreational cannabis in Colorado, where I'm from, Colorado. I wasn't really like involved in that aspect. But I mean, as far as like cannabis goes, I'm very pro cannabis. I was a medical marijuana patient for over 4 years until the price paying for my license didn't justify the recreational prices here in Colorado.
Oh yeah, man. Believe you me, I think we can all relate. People out there can relate for sure. So let's talk about the competitive. Well, you know what, Jared? Let's watch a clip, man, of Bongathon, but not the actual movie. We're gonna watch a clip of like just, you know, an advert, a random. Here's one from someone from, it's the 36th annual one in Colorado. Excuse me. Hold on. I'm getting all mixed up here, y'all. Give me 1 second. Alrighty. So I'm not sure why my screen looks messed up over there, y'all. So give me a second. Let me adjust that real quick. I do not know why my screen is so messed up. Anyways, so here, how about this? I'll just go back to, let me go back to the actual Bongathon itself, and we'll watch a clip. So by the way, y'all, later
shields,
on,
we had snipers on equestrians.
Later on, y'all, we're going to be
we had M50 machine guns mounted.
The full episode right after this, we're gonna be watching the full movie. So be sure to tune in with us. Also, I want to say shout out to Twitch, man, because y'all reinvigorated me and re-inspired me lately. So I want to say shout out to all y'all over there on Twitch doing y'all's thing. But yeah, I'm gonna show y'all this clip here.
On the front of Jeeps.
This wasn't the first time that the feds had been involved.
This is North America's oldest known token company. Denver, Colorado, the mile-high city, known for its elevation. But in the last year, that name has taken on another meaning. In 2013, Colorado and Washington became the first 2 states to legalize cannabis for recreational use.
In our Gone to Pot series, we've been looking at Colorado's groundbreaking experiment in legalizing recreational marijuana.
But our story starts 40 years before this, in the 1970s, when cannabis prohibition was at the height of criminalization in America.
Well, let's all go in tomorrow, $3 a piece, and buy a $15 lid. Because at that time you could buy a $15 lid for, well, you know what I mean. So we all did that. The next day we sat around in the middle of the afternoon in this apartment, and we all just smoked our $3 worth, which was quite a bit. I think George Shammy coined the phrase first annual Bong-a-thon Invitational. Me and Dennis were the co-organizers, and it started at a house on Table Mesa. There's about 40 people and 1 keg of beer.
Hey, look at this. First and second Bong-a-thon, folks. You will never see this. Oh, look, that one's getting a little old. Oh, yeah, so is that one.
Most everybody knew each other before they got there, and if they didn't, they knew them at the end.
My first time there was in 1979, and I competed and won back then. Tom's Cabin was the location, and we think it was the 7th.
And what is clear is that its popularity grew almost immediately.
All right, y'all. So, as you heard at the very beginning there, they said that it's North America's oldest cannabis competition. Now, contrary to appearances, and I went through this as well. There's a lot of, yes, there's a lot of typical stoner aspects to this, but I'm here to tell y'all, man, you're hearing this from the snootiest stoner of them all. This competition ain't no chump change. So speaking of the competition, Jared, tell us tell us more about the competition. There's the 6-foot tandem gram competition and so on. Tell us more about some of the competitions. Jared, can you hear me? You froze? Are you gone? You there, Jared?